The diner sat on the corner of Sycamore and Fifth, its neon sign flickering in and out like it couldn't decide whether to stay alive. Inside, the booths were cracked, the coffee lukewarm, and the clock above the register had been stuck at 2:47 for nearly 3 years. But people came anyway, for the warmth, for the routine, for the waitress who knew everyone's name. Her name was Elena. She'd worked at Marla's diner for almost 7 years, ever since she dropped out of community college to take care of her younger brother after their mother's overdose. She never talked about it. People just thought she liked early shifts and strong coffee. Her hair was always tied up, her apron stained but neat. She smiled when she didn't feel like it. She remembered orders without writing them down. She was the kind of person life leaned on without ever asking permission. It was a Tuesday morning in October when he came in. Elena didn't notice him at first. The diner was half full, and she was pouring coffee for Old Man Rivers in booth 2. But something about the way the bell jingled when the door opened, sharper, like it meant something, made her glance up. He looked out of place. Crisp gray coat. Polished shoes. The kind of man who usually didn't come in unless their Tesla had a flat. But he didn't act out of place. He just sat at the counter, folded his hands, and waited. Elena walked over with a practiced smile. "You want coffee?" He looked up. Blue eyes. Quiet. Almost too quiet. "Please," he said. She poured it. He didn't touch it. "You hungry?" she asked. He shook his head. "Not really. Maybe just toast." Toast it is. That was it. No flirtation. No name. Just toast and untouched coffee. He sat there for nearly 45 minutes. Said little. Tipped well. Then he left. But he also left behind his wallet. Elena found it 2 minutes later, half under the counter stool. Black leather. Thick. She opened it just enough to see his license. Daniel Carrington. And something else, several crisp hundreds tucked inside, enough to cover her rent twice over. Her fingers hesitated. Then she shook her head, grabbed her coat, and ran out the door. "Sir," she called. He was halfway down the block. She jogged to catch up. He turned. A flicker of surprise. Then something softer, recognition. "You left this," she said, handing it over. His eyes dropped to the wallet. "I didn't even notice." "Well, I did," she replied, folding her arms. "I've seen people cry over losing less." He looked at her a moment longer. Then he smiled, small, but real. "Thank you. That was honest of you." She shrugged. "Figured it'd come back on me somehow if I didn't." Daniel tilted his head. "Do you believe in that? Karma?" She smirked. "I believe in rent being due on the first. And bad things happening to good people, no matter what they believe." Daniel nodded, as if he understood more than he let on. "Have a good day," she said, already turning back toward the diner. "Elena." She stopped. Turned slowly. "You didn't tell me your name," he said. She raised an eyebrow. "It's on my name tag." He chuckled. "Right." Back at the diner, Marla watched her come in, wiping her hands on her apron. "You okay?" "Fine," Elena said. "Just returned a wallet. Anyone else would have kept it." "Yeah," Elena muttered, tying her apron again. "But I'm not anyone else." What she didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that Daniel Carrington had noticed far more than her honesty. He had come to the diner on purpose. She just didn't know it yet. That night, Elena walked home in the rain. Her umbrella had broken, and the wind had a cruel way of reminding her that she couldn't afford a new coat. Her apartment was a third-floor walk-up that always smelled like old onions and leaky pipe. Her brother, Lucas, was asleep on the couch with a textbook on his chest and earbuds in. She kissed his forehead, heated leftover soup, and sat by the window watching the streetlights tremble in the puddles. She didn't think of Daniel Carrington again. But he thought about her. The next morning, he returned. Same seat. Same quiet smile. "You again," she said, trying to hide her surprise. "I was hoping you'd be here." "Why?" He hesitated. "Because I didn't say thank you properly." "You said it." "Not properly." She folded her arms. "Look, I didn't return your wallet to earn points. I did it because it was the right thing. That's it." Daniel nodded slowly. "I understand. Then let me do the right thing too." Elena narrowed her eyes. "What's that supposed to mean?" He reached into his coat and pulled out a business card. "Just, hold on to this. In case you ever need something." She didn't take it at first. "Are you trying to pay me for doing the right thing?" she asked, her tone hardening. "No," he said, quietly. "I'm trying to remember what it feels like to believe in people again. And maybe, give you something to believe in too." There was something in his eyes then, an ache, a loneliness that mirrored her own. She took the card. Didn't look at it. Stuffed it in her apron and turned away. And just like that, Daniel Carrington disappeared back into the city. But not for long. Because Elena had just changed his life. And he was about to return the favor, in a way she never saw coming. Elena didn't look at the card until the end of her shift. The rush had come and gone, and Marla was smoking out back. The jukebox played something old and aching while she wiped down the counter, her mind drifting back to the man in the gray coat. Daniel Carrington. He had said her name like it mattered. Like he'd said it before. She pulled the card from her apron and turned it over. Carrington and Wells Capital. Daniel Carrington, Managing Partner. Private Office, 5th Avenue, Manhattan. Her fingers tightened on the edge. It wasn't just the polished font or the heavy texture of the card. It was the weight of what it meant. Carrington. The name echoed. She knew that name from news headlines. From Forbes. From real estate towers with glass windows and revolving doors. This man wasn't just rich, he was that kind of rich. The kind that doesn't just buy the building. It buys the block. Elena stared at the card, her thoughts scattering. Why would someone like that walk into her diner? Why not send an assistant for coffee and toast? Why sit at the counter for 45 silent minutes and less? No. She was being ridiculous. She slipped the card into her pocket and didn't tell Marla or anyone else. By the time she got home, the sky was already dark and the hallway lights in her apartment were flickering again. Lucas was in their shared room, headphones on, half asleep over algebra problems. She heated up a canned dinner and tried to focus on anything but the man in the gray coat. But sleep didn't come easily that night. And the next day, she found herself checking the door every time the bell rang. He didn't come. Not the day after, either. A week passed. Then 2. Elena folded laundry. Served pancakes. Waited tables. Counted tips that never stretched far enough. And every night, the card stayed in the drawer beside her bed, like some strange promise she refused to believe. Until a knock came on the diner's front door. It was just past midnight. They were closed. Elena was finishing up the books and wiping tables when she saw the black car pull up and the driver step out, clean-shaven in a black suit. He approached the glass, knocked once, and held up a small envelope. Elena hesitated, heart thudding. She cracked the door. "We're closed." "I'm aware," the man said calmly. "This is for you. From Mr. Carrington." He handed her the envelope and walked away. Inside was a single sheet of paper with handwriting in deep blue ink. I hope you'll forgive the intrusion. I'm hosting a small private gathering this Friday. You may bring a guest. There's something I'd like to offer you, something that won't fit on a business card. DC. At the bottom, an address in Tribeca. The kind of address where doormen outnumber tenants. Elena stared at it for a long time. Then folded it quietly and slid it into her apron. Friday came faster than she expected. She borrowed a dress from her neighbor, Claire, a floral thing with a soft neckline and loose sleeves. She borrowed shoes too, heels she could barely walk in, and curled her hair the way her mother used to, back when school dances still mattered. Lucas raised an eyebrow when he saw her. Where are you going? Elena paused in the mirror. Someplace, weird. That guy again. The wallet guy. Yeah. Is he weird? She thought about it. No. But this is. He shrugged. Just don't let it get weird in the bad way. I won't. She took a cab. She couldn't risk showing up to a place like that on the subway. When she arrived, a doorman checked her name against a list, nodded once, and opened the door to a world she'd only seen in magazines. Marble floors. Crystal light fixtures. People in suits that looked like they cost more than her rent. Soft laughter. Golden glasses filled with clear drinks. Music that felt too elegant to hum along with. And then, Daniel. He was standing near a fireplace, speaking to a group of men who all straightened slightly when he talked. But the moment he saw her, he stepped away without hesitation. Elena, he said, that small smile returning. You came. I still don't know why I'm here. You will. He offered her his arm, and she took it, reluctantly. I didn't think you'd remember me, she said. He glanced sideways. I didn't forget you. Most people take what isn't theirs. You gave something back. It was just a wallet. He stopped walking. No, it wasn't. You gave me something I hadn't seen in a long time, proof that not everyone has a price. She didn't know what to say. He led her to a quiet lounge room where the crowd thinned. A grand piano rested in the corner. A painting of a forest hung above a low sofa. I want to make you an offer, Daniel said, his voice quiet now. Elena stiffened. If this is where it gets weird, I'm leaving. It's not, he said. You don't owe me anything. I'm offering because I can, and because you deserve better than a cracked counter and cheap coffee. I didn't ask for anything. I know. That's why I want to give you something real. She swallowed hard. What is it? He pulled a folder from the nearby table. Inside, a letterhead. A bank name. Her name. It's a scholarship. For your brother. And a paid internship. For you. At my company. No strings. Her hands trembled as she held the papers. I don't understand, she whispered. You will, he said. Why me? Because you saved something I thought was lost, he replied. And not just a wallet. Elena looked down at the papers again. And for the first time in years, the future didn't feel like something she was running from. It felt like something that might actually wait for her. The next morning, Elena didn't open the diner. She walked the cracked sidewalk past Marla's diner with her coat zipped tight and her mind spinning. The folder Daniel Carrington had given her felt heavier than any tray she'd ever carried. She held it close, like a secret too delicate to speak aloud. She hadn't told Marla. Not yet. Not Lucas either. There was something about it she needed to sit with, alone. Because the world she knew, of burnt coffee and barely making it, was about to change. And change, no matter how good, came with a strange kind of grief. At home, she laid the folder open on the kitchen table. Her name was printed in bold across the top of 2 official documents. The first was a full scholarship, tuition, housing, books, for Lucas to attend a prestigious prep school Daniel's company supported. The second was an offer letter, a paid internship at Carrington and Wells Capital. The numbers didn't make sense. The decimal places felt like they belonged to someone else's story. Still, it was real. Lucas wandered out of the bedroom rubbing his eyes. "You're not at work?" She shook her head. "I'm taking a day." He glanced at the papers. "Is that what I think it is?" "Yeah." He moved closer. "Read the documents." His eyes widened, then narrowed in disbelief. "This isn't a joke." "I don't think so." He looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. "Elena, what is happening?" She took a breath. "I think we've just been given a shot." Carrington and Wells Capital towered above Manhattan like a monument to wealth. Glass. Steel. A sky that reflected in every panel like it belonged to no one. Elena stood in the lobby holding the elevator button for longer than necessary. Her borrowed heels clicked too loudly against the polished marble floor. A receptionist greeted her on the 31st floor, handing her a security badge and a welcome folder. "Elena Rosas," the woman said, smiling. "We've been expecting you." The office was all quiet power, clean lines, soft gold accents, expensive but understated. Like everyone inside it knew exactly what they were worth and didn't need to say it out loud. Daniel wasn't there that morning. But his assistant, a sharp-eyed woman named Maris, walked Elena through orientation. "You'll start in development strategy," she explained. "You'll shadow the team, attend briefings, and report directly to me." Elena blinked. "I'm not even sure what that means." Maris smiled, but there was no condescension in it. "That's all right. We're not hiring what you know. We're investing in who you are." The first few days were overwhelming. Acronyms flew like arrows in meetings. Her co-workers wore tailored suits and dropped phrases like pivot point and growth ceiling without blinking. But they treated her with kindness. Not charity. Not pity. Respect. She had a desk. A chair that rolled smoothly. A laptop with her name on the login. And every time she doubted herself, she reminded herself, she had earned this. Maybe not the way others had. But the world didn't just change because you asked. It changed because someone saw what you didn't even know was inside you, and gave you room to rise. After 2 weeks, Daniel invited her to lunch. Not at a restaurant, but on the rooftop garden of the building, an oasis above the chaos of the city. She found him sitting alone, sleeves rolled, tie loosened. For the first time, he looked less like the headlines and more like the man from the diner. The one who drank coffee and barely touched his toast. "Elena," he said warmly. "How's the office treating you?" She sat across from him. "Still feels like I'm dreaming." He smiled. "Good dreams or bad ones?" "Both," she admitted. "But I'm learning." "I knew you would." She hesitated. "Why me?" Daniel set down his drink. The question lingered in the air. "You know, when I first started building this company," he said, "I believed success was about numbers. Assets. Acquisitions. I built towers, Elena. But they were hollow." She listened, unsure where he was going. "Then, one night, I forgot my wallet. And a woman who had every reason not to care chased me down a street to give it back." His eyes softened. "You reminded me what wealth is for." She looked down at her hands. "I didn't do anything special." "That's where you're wrong. You acted with integrity when no one was watching. That's rarer than all the gold in the vaults beneath this building." Silence stretched for a moment. Then he leaned back, voice quiet. "Do you like it here?" Elena nodded slowly. "More than I thought I would." "Good," he said. "Because I'm not just offering you a seat at the table, Elena. I'm preparing you to build your own. At home, Lucas was thriving. His new school challenged him, and he rose to meet it. He'd started talking about college again. About engineering. About dreams that once felt like fiction. He even stopped calling their apartment a dump and started calling it temporary. One night, he found her staring out the window, the city lights flickering below. "You miss the diner?" he asked. She smiled. "Sometimes. Do you think it's okay to let go of where we came from?" She looked at him. "It's not about letting go. It's about building on top of it." A month later, Daniel invited her to a gala, black tie, hundreds of guests, a ballroom that shimmered like something out of a dream. Elena wore a dress that made her feel like someone who belonged, even if she still didn't believe it. When Daniel introduced her to the board, he didn't call her an intern. He called her the future of Carrington and Wells. Some smiled politely. Some raised eyebrows. But no one dared question the man who saw gold in a girl who used to mop diner floors at midnight. And Elena? She held her head high. Because for the first time, she believed it too. Success, as Elena soon learned, did not arrive gently. With each passing week, she climbed deeper into the world of business, meetings filled with men who looked through her before speaking, late nights studying contracts, weekends spent shadowing Maris through conferences and client calls. Daniel's belief in her was unwavering. But others in the firm weren't so subtle in their skepticism. Intern or not, one senior partner murmured in a boardroom break, "This charity project's becoming expensive." She heard it. She always heard it. But she stayed silent. Not because she agreed, but because she'd learned something more dangerous than insult was expectation. Theirs was low. Hers was not. That night, she worked until 2 a.m., her face lit by the glow of spreadsheets and market projections. Not because she was told to. But because she needed to prove, to herself, to them, that her place here was not a gift. It was earned. Meanwhile, Lucas thrived. Prep school turned him into someone more confident, more grounded. He made friends, joined a robotics club, and started building things out of metal and wires Elena couldn't understand. "You look tired," he said one evening, poking at her takeout noodles. "I'm learning how to survive in a room full of wolves." "You're not afraid?" She smiled. "Fear's just another kind of fuel." Then the storm came. Daniel disappeared from the office for days. Rumors swirled, something about a lawsuit, a betrayal from within the board, a scandal brewing under the surface. One morning, headlines blazed across financial blogs. Carrington and Wells under scrutiny, whispers of embezzlement in high places. Elena froze, coffee halfway to her lips. She waited for a message. A call. Anything from Daniel. But there was nothing. By afternoon, Maris summoned her. "Mr. Carrington needs you at the penthouse," she said quietly. "Why me?" "Because you're the only person he trusts right now." The penthouse sat high above the city, marble floors, glass walls, and silence thick as smoke. Daniel looked older when she arrived. Tired. Less invincible. "I'm sorry I pulled you into this," he said. "You didn't." He handed her a folder. "There are board members trying to push me out. They've been laundering money, using shell corporations to cover it up. I found it. And now they're turning it on me." Her chest tightened. "What do you need?" "I need someone with nothing to lose," he said, "to tell the truth." She blinked. "You want me to speak at the shareholder meeting?" "Not just speak," he said. "Lead. Elena, if I fall, I need someone I trust to help carry what we've built." The stakes rose like floodwaters. She took the folder. And stepped into the storm. Elena stood in front of the largest room she'd ever seen. A marble ballroom turned battleground. Cameras. Reporters. Shareholders with cold eyes and expensive pens. She wore the only suit she owned, borrowed from Maris. And carried a folder that held truth more powerful than wealth. She spoke not with polish, but with purpose. I am not a financier. I was a waitress. A sister. A woman who gave a wallet back because it was the right thing to do. Daniel Carrington did not change my life with money, he changed it with trust. She walked them through the evidence, transactions, forged papers, missing funds, all laid bare in the folder Daniel had entrusted her with. This company doesn't need a savior, she said. It needs its soul back. The room fell silent. And then, applause. Not all. But enough. Afterward, the firm split like stone under pressure. Some board members resigned. Others were indicted. Daniel remained, but his power shifted. The company restructured. Trust re-established. And Elena? She was no longer an intern. She was offered a full-time position, Director of Community Investment. Her first act. Establishing a foundation under the firm's name. One that would provide scholarships and mentorships for young people like Lucas, and working-class women like herself. She named it the Honest Hands Initiative. Because sometimes, all it took was one good hand to pull someone up. It was a simple thing. A house. 2 stories. White fence. A mailbox that didn't lean sideways. But to Elena, it was everything. She bought it quietly, not because it was grand, but because it was theirs. For Lucas, it meant a bedroom that didn't share a wall with the kitchen. For Elena, it meant mornings where sunlight came through clean windows, not the flicker of fluorescent bulbs. She planted herbs in the windowsill. Basil. Rosemary. Just like her mother used to. Daniel visited once. He stood in the doorway, took it all in, and said only, "This feels right." She smiled. It is. Their relationship was not romantic. It never had been. But there was something deeper. A tether made of trust. And when they spoke, it was like 2 versions of the same dream-finding voice. At work, Elena built programs that lifted families out of debt, funded training programs, created ladders instead of handouts. Her story made headlines. From diner to director, the internet loved it. But she didn't care about likes. She cared about legacy. And one morning, while sipping tea on her porch, she realized something stunning. She was no longer surviving. She was living. 1 year to the day since the lost wallet, Elena returned to the diner. It looked the same, chipped tables, the smell of burnt toast, Marla's laughter echoing from the back. She sat at her old spot. Ordered coffee. The waitress, a teenager, probably knew, didn't recognize her. Elena didn't expect her to. She finished her drink, left a tip large enough to pay someone's rent, and stepped outside into the evening. From her purse, she pulled a small, worn object. Daniel's wallet. She had kept it all this time. Not for the money it once held, but for what it had brought. A moment of honesty. A turning point. A future. She slipped it into the donation box of a local youth shelter, folded a note inside. Return what isn't yours. Take only what you've earned. And trust that kindness is never wasted. Er. As she walked away, the city lights reflected on the pavement like stars fallen just for her. Not because she was lucky. But because she had once chased a stranger down a street. And had the courage to say, "Hey, you forgot something." If you believe that kindness still matters, that one moment can change a lifetime, and that ordinary people can walk into extraordinary fates, then this is the place for you.